Hey guys, Desolate Magic here, and I'm pretty sure if I have one more dehydrated salted meat product, I might actually have to seek medical attention. So I put the rest of the Bloody Mary sausage sticks back in the fridge, and now it's spoiler time. Spoiler number 1, those things tasty as hell. Spoiler number 2, suspicious stowaway. So it's a 2-cost blue 1/1 human row werewolf, and it can't be blocked. Always questionable. And whenever deals common damage to a player, draw a card, then discard a card, and daybound. Alright, typical obnoxious rogue, but on the nightbound side, it is green color identity for some reason, and then seafaring werewolf can't be blocked. Yeah, an unblockable werewolf is a little more of a problem here, although I don't know how you're splashing blue to get this, but I do know how you're going to night, which is doing nothing. I feel like they should have made night the difficult one. Anyway, whenever it deals common damage to a player, just straight up draw a card, and then you don't have to discard one, so that's absolutely huge. I mean, seriously, if you can find a way to splash blue or use a treasure or filter or something to get this out, this is one of the better werewolves I've seen. Next up, we got Stuffed Bear, which I just right off the bat absolutely love for some reason. Well, this is Innistrad, where you can't have nothing nice because even the taxidermy attacks. I guess that would be the tax part of taxidermy. I apologize not for that pun. So if you pay 2, Stuffed Bear becomes a 4/4 green bear artifact creature until end of turn. Alright, so I mean, it's a 4/4 for 2, but you gotta kind of like pay to maintain it, sort of. You have to like pay for the option. Kind of a neat trade-off. We actually don't really see enough of that in the game. Because, I mean, you know, early game, it's like, oh, do I spend the 2 to try to attack him for 4, or do I spend the 2 to drop something else in play? You know, do I use one of the cards in my hand? Or do I sit on it for like an instant speed ambush boost? Or, you know, what's the best route? And then late game, it's like, oh, look, I top decked another land. Well, at least I could pay 2 to do this. So I kind of like this. Next up, Sigarda's Splendor. It's a double white 4-cost enchantment, rare. And as it enters the battlefield, note your life total. That's the thing that Mark was talking about. And at the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card if your life total is greater than or equal to the last noted life total for Sigarda's Splendor. Then note your life total again. Okay, makes sense because the first one is ETB. And then, I mean, here's the kicker here. Not literally. Whenever you cast a white spell, you gain 1 life. So it's the beginning of your upkeep, so as long as you maintained the life gain that you did during your, or I guess your opponent's turn, if that lasts until the next beginning of your upkeep, then you draw an extra card. But it's limited to 1. It's not, you know, 1 life gain equals 1 card draw. Although last time we had something kind of like that, I think you had to pay, oh, I don't remember how much, 2 mana, maybe? And that card was kind of insane. It was kind of borderline going too far. So yeah, this one doesn't cost any mana, but it only triggers once, and it only triggers during your upkeep. And you had to hold on to that higher life total by at least 1 point for an entire turn cycle, in which your opponent, in theory, attacked you. So I kind of like this. Now remember, he stated it, actually 2 different ways. He had 2, like, teasers, I guess you would say, that both related to this card. One was the note your life total phrase, and the other one was reliable, ongoing, free card draw in white, and everybody's like, no. Please don't do that. We already know you're going to tie it to life gain. But the way they did this, it actually almost seems fair. But I don't know. Now remember, the number 1 most important, it looks good but it actually isn't, things in Magic, one of the, like, trappings, is a card where you can just kind of boil it down to, like, no matter what it actually says, what it really does is if you're already winning, win more. Which you probably don't need to do because you would have won anyway. So stuff like, if you've done 10 damage to your opponent this turn, then trigger. Well, how much longer are they going to stay living if you have the ability to do that? Unless it was a fluke, a one-off, a suicide trample, and now your creature's dead. I mean, it's kind of like, oh, if you have 8 or more creatures in play. Well, if you have 8 more creatures in play, you're going to win. So who cares about whatever this spell does? You don't need it. You would have won anyway. Even though it looks really powerful, and it is, it's built off of like a game state that's extremely in your favor anyway, so you probably don't need the spell if you're able to pull off the condition. And I say that because this kind of hints at that, although, I mean, just sitting there driving up your life total over and over and over and over and over, and it doesn't say by more than 1 point. I mean, 1 point will set this off. Boom, now you get to outdraw them 2 to 1. Now, if you're so defensive and have so many control spells or so many first strikers or so many whatever else is in your deck, death touchers, who knows, that your opponent can't even swing at you, okay, that's more of a stalemate than oh, look at me in my overwhelming board state. But, I mean, generally, if you have a board state that will prevent you from getting hit by them at all, and on top of it, you're gaining life, I mean, do you really need more cards? I mean, okay, never assume that the game is won until the game is won, but I just want to point out that this might not be quite as good as you think, but also it still has the potential of being unbelievably broken, because for some reason they didn't make it legendary. And my God, will it be annoying to, quote, take note of your life total with more than one of these in play. Well, until they're both in play. I mean, the ETB versus the, beginning of your upkeep thing, it'll maybe be two different numbers. So I don't really know what to think about this. I mean, I think that last part, just ignore the bonus cards, the whole cast a white spell, gain 1 life. White Life Gain Angels is already the most powerful deck in the meta by a long shot. We've already got just blind life gain with absolutely no point and no offense. An archetype that would not normally win you the game now has a card that just says get to 35 and win. Yay! I hate that card. That card needs to be banned. So you don't have to have offense or a point to your deck. So okay, take that existing meta and then add whenever you cast a white spell you gain 1 life. I mean, would you have been better off with another Flying Angel? Maybe, if you don't count on pulling that. But if you're just going to go 100% all in life gain and your only win con is that stupid get to 35 and win, and then you add this to it, wow. I mean, the amount of life gain you would have, I mean, you could almost just take a couple hits and still have a net positive and then get, 2 cards and then just start snowballing on them. Then you get all the life gain triggers with all the Ajani's Primate clones. Every time you gain a life, put a counter on this creature, some of which aren't even legal in Standard, but they're legal on Arena and Best of 1, because they're in the A series. Yay! I honestly don't know what the hell they were thinking with that, because some of those cards are not, welcome deck crap. They're actually broken, overpowered stuff. So I am so on the fence about this, but this is one of the most significant cards in the game so far that we've seen, especially in such a lower powered set, not counting werewolves. Definitely worth keeping a very close eye on this one. So let's move on to the next one. It's a nice mythic. It's Lier, or I don't know. Disciple of the Drowned. So it's a 5-cost, 3/4 legendary creature, human wizard. Spells can't be countered. Isn't that a bit hypocritical of you there, Blue Boy? That's like a member of the Blue Man group coming up to you and saying, I think you're wearing a little too matchy blue. But wait, it gets worse. Each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback, and its flashback cost is equal to that card's mana cost. Period. Yeah, not +2, just it is what... So basically you can cast everything twice. Now by definition, flashback cards go to exile the next time you cast them, but this card is awful. It is absolutely terrible. So if they're going to do some big storm thing, some big X spell or whatever, you can't stop it. Like literally, you cannot counter the spell. There is nothing you can do during their turn to stop yourself from losing the game. So that's a feels bad man scenario. And then on top of it, the graveyard basically has no function. It's supposed to be difficult to get creatures and spells out of the graveyard. It's supposed to be the exception to the rule. This guy is just like, no, you get everything twice. Yay. So the only way to stop this is graveyard clearing. Again, so it's another broken, stupid, obnoxious mythic that only gets shut down by graveyard clearing. Everybody running any kind of deck is going to have to clear graveyards. And that is a stupid, unnecessary, just obnoxious burden. I don't have room in my ultra tight deck list for 8 cards that all clear graveyards, which is the bare minimum if you want to get 1 per game. So crap like this is what's going to ruin the whole set. So next up we got Bird Admirer. I feel like that's what like an old person would say if they can't think of the name like ornithologist. It's one of those, the bird admirers. And by the way, admirer might not be the right word because it's a 1/4 for 3 human archer werewolf with reach. It kills flying creatures. She's looking at a crossbow that she uses to shoot birds. What about that screams admiration? Anyway, on the back, oh god, it gets worse. It's Wing Shredder. That's probably more accurate. 3/5 with reach. Nightbound. So the only hope of beating this overpowered werewolf tribal crap that is forming as we see more and more spoilers with broken, obnoxious, boosting, and highly defensive while also being highly offensive while also being impossible to get it off night werewolf deck. Their only weakness is maybe I could fly over it with something. Well, now you can't. They've got every single angle covered. This is ridiculous. Mark my words, werewolves are going to be the bane of everyone's existence as soon as the set drops. So next up, we've got Moonsilver Key. Still don't really know what that means, but only Chapter 1 and 2 of the story are out, so this looks like some endgame stuff. So we got 2-cost artifact, pay 1, tap it, sacrifice Moonsilver Key. Search your library for an artifact card with a mana ability or a basic land card. Okay, and then reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. I could see this maybe being popular in some kind of commander deck, but is it really worth going to get like a basic land or a mana rock with something that could have just been a mana rock in the first place? Probably not. But outside of standard, I feel like you could do some wacky stuff going to get some like mana rocks that also do something else, or that you can turn into something else with like an Enso artifact effect. So definitely keep an eye on this one. Next up we got Slogurk, the Overslime. I watched Nickelodeon in the 90s. There is no such thing as Overslime. So it's a green-blue 3/3 legendary creature ooze with trample, and whenever a land is put into your graveyard from anywhere, put a 1/1 counter on Slogurk the Overslime, and then remove 3 1/1 counters from Slogurk and return it to its owner's hand. And then when Slogurk leaves the battlefield, so dying or returning to hand, return up to 3 target land cards from your graveyard to your hand. It seems to me that there would be next to no way to actually play this in standard. I mean, this just screams like, oh, it's Scape Shift Jr. Or, well, I mean, I guess it would be in like the same deck. And then they made it a rare, so like they've obviously got some big plan for this, but I feel like this just has to be some kind of commander card or something. I don't know. How the hell, after Fabled Passage goes out of standard, are you going to put 3 cards into your graveyard, let alone 1? I mean, ooh, an Evolving Wilds. Wow, well, that's a 4 of. I mean, we do have that card, which I believe is not green-blue, I think it's green-red, that destroys one of your lands and then brings out 2. And then there's that other mono-green spell that does it. That's not in this set, it's in the former set, or one of the former sets. So, okay, but then remember, we might see really heavy self-mill, but once again, I don't think it's in these colors. I mean, remember, it says a land is put into your graveyard from anywhere. So if you hit yourself with a mill spell, or you do some kind of, you know, mill 4, repetitive, whatever, I don't know, trying to do like a resurrect thing, obviously in black, then that would be. Okay, this could get kind of big, so I mean, it's not useless. I have the sneaking suspicion this was not meant for standard, but I could be wrong. Next up, we got Vadrik, Astral Archmage. He's a 3-cost 1/2 legendary creature, human wizard, and if it's neither day nor night, it becomes day as he enters the battlefield. And then instant and sorcery spells you cast cost X less to cast, where X is Vadrik's power. Okay, more storm enabling crap, so this is garbage. And then whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, put a 1/1 counter in Vadrik, because none of your spells need to cost anything. Okay, this is going far too far. This is ridiculous. If your spell has generic in it, ignore it, is what this should say. Because that is utterly ridiculous. Now, are these the 2 colors that flip between day and night the most? No, not even close. I would say they probably don't even do it at all. But if he starts the ball rolling, I mean, you never know. So yeah, not only is this historically one of the most obnoxious color combinations, but now they took all the spells, reduced them all by probably around half on average, and you're going to get all these broken 4 or 5 cost spells off. But the thing is, though, if the whole deck is over CMC and you're just hoping this guy is out there, well, you might not even draw him in a game, and then you can't cast anything. So it would almost have to be like a treasure deck anyway, and then he's just faster than that. Or you're playing a fairly effective storm anyway, and this will just take, 1 or 2 mana off once in a while, and you're not even really caring about day or night. I don't know, like either way, I just absolutely despise this card, and it is going to be a huge hazard to fun, enjoyable, fair gameplay. They definitely should not have printed it. Next up, we got Scab Wrangler, or is it Scab, or did we ever find out? They need a pronunciation key for this stuff. I'll go with Scab. It's 2 A's. That'll be the long A, right? So anyway, it's a 2-cost 2/1 human wizard. Tap 3 untapped creatures you control. 2-tap a target creature. Oh, honk honk. The tugboat is pulling up into Value Harbor. This is garbage. Why would anybody play this? Why would anybody do this? I mean, I get it. Oh, my decayed creatures can't block anyway, so I'll take 3 of them, not attack with them, and then tap 1 opponent's creature, which immediately untaps during their upkeep. So you'd have to do it during their untap step. I can't believe I just said that. I think a decayed heavy deck is just garbage anyway, because, in Magic, you need to be able to block. Shocking, I know. Also, 2/2s on offense ain't shit. So next up, we got Outland Liberator. It's a 2-cost 2/2 human werewolf. If you pay 1, sack it, destroy target artifact or enchantment, and daybound. Ooh, that's pretty powerful. And then we've got Frenzied Trapbreaker on the other side. It's just a 3/3 with pay 1 and do the exact same thing. And then whenever it attacks, destroy target artifact or enchantment defending player controls. I mean, yeah, we kind of needed a recurring naturalize, to be honest, so I'll take it. You either can't attack because you'll just get utterly destroyed and then you pay 1 and sack it anyway and get the effect, or you get it off multiple times and watch out. I kind of like that because right now the big enemy of the meta, the big problem that needs to be solved is really, really broken, obnoxious enchantments. And this one handles that plus some artifacts too. So hooray for countermeasures in this particular case. Next up, we've got Ludwig, Necrogenius. Oh, great. So he's a black and blue 2/3 human wizard legendary, and when he enters the battlefield or attacks, mill a card. There you go, there's your graveyard filler. Not going to help your off-color ooze, though, and if you pay X plus 2 blue plus 2 black, okay, so that's 4 plus X, all color-coded, exile X creature cards from your graveyard, and then transform Ludwig, X can't be 0, and activate only as a sorcery. So that's a bit steep. You better be pretty good on the other side. I'm kind of worried. Let's see. We've got Oleg, or Olag, I don't know, Ludwig's Hubris. A 4/4 legendary creature zombie. As this creature transforms into Olag, it becomes a copy of a creature card exiled with it, except its name is Olag Ludwig's Hubris. Or Hubris, my god, can I read today? And it's a 4/4, so that takes away any kind of advantage. And it's legendary and black and blue, and a zombie, in addition to its other colors and types. Put a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the number of creature cards exiled with it, though. But you're already paying 4 plus X and absolutely nuking your graveyard with cards that you might have wanted to resurrect or needed to be there for some other reason. So this just strikes me as absolutely awful. Now, outside of standard, okay, you milled Emrakul. Cool. Doesn't matter if it's a 4/4. It has Annihilator 6, was it? Yeah. That would be bad. But like, how many counters are you really going to get out of this? So once again, this is like the shittiest version of Altered Ego I've ever seen in the most roundabout way. But that's good because I'm sick of seeing overpowered crap in this set. There's not much of it, but the stuff I did see is pretty egregious. Next up, we've got Rem Carolus, I guess. Carolus? Rem Carolus? Next time somebody sees him, just real politely ask him his ethnicity and country of origin so I can get his name pronunciation correct. But he's the Stalwart Slayer. And he's a legendary creature because they gave a name. That is typically how that works. It's a first and last name or just a proper noun. They throw legendary on it. Not because the creature needed legendary, just because there is factually only one of them. And then the funny thing is they actually slip up once in a while and don't do it. So anyway, it's a 3-cost 2/3 human knight, white-red, of course. Flying and haste, nice. And if a spell would deal damage to you or another permanent you control, prevent that damage. So, okay, that's pretty nuts. And then if a spell would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus 1 instead. A burn assistant deck that splashes white, but would be an absolute catastrophe in a mirror match. Who thought that was a good idea? But I don't know any kind of Red Winds deck that splashes white just for this. And I mean, the only red-white deck that I know that people play right now is Equipment Rush, and this does absolutely nothing about that. Other than, I guess, stop red removal? I don't know. This is so narrow. This is really weird. I mean, it's powerful, but it's weirdly specific. Next up, Catilda, Dawnheart Prime. Oh, look, they gave her name. It's a legendary creature, human warlock. So it's 1 white, 1 green, 1/1 protection from werewolves. Hell yes. Although I'm going to reduce that to a hell maybe because the fact that they felt the need to do this is kind of frightening. But I mean, humans versus werewolves, it could just be a flavor thing. But anyway, human creatures you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color or the creature's colors to your mana pool. That is huge. And then if you pay 4 generic plus 1 green plus 1 white for 6 total, tap it, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. This is how you do Swarm, okay? She's a 1/1 for 2. A gust of wind will kill her, but not the world's largest werewolf, although Trample, I think it's completely past that. I don't know if we've ever learned what happens with Trample and Protection, to be perfectly honest. But then all of your humans become mana dorks, and then you can pay an outrageous amount of mana to put 1 counter on each of them permanently. I mean, damn. But it costs 6, though. You can't just, I'm just going to do that on a whim. I kind of feel like, I mean, yeah, it's 6, but could they have added only do this at sorcery speed so that you can't hold a bunch of like ambush spells and you know, they swing at me so I'm exiling them kind of spells. But then, oh look, I've got 6 during the end step. Haha, yay, you know, 0 risk. Yeah, I mean, it's still 6, but that does kind of feel bad. They really could have said sorcery speed only so that you can only do it on your turn. Well, plus without it being sorcery speed, you can do it in the middle of your own combat phase or theirs. So you get some utility there, but it's not exactly like they didn't see it coming. The card's sitting right there looking at them, and they see how many lands are untapped, so it's on them if they get surprised by it. But the whole end step thing where you can just do it if you have 6 open, I don't know. This really isn't that bad. I mean, it's not that strong of a creature, but it's still like really, really good, but it seems like it's kind of contained to the block that it's in because like literal Selesnya cards, not Selesnya colored cards, but literally Selesnya cards from the Selesnya guild are generally better at swarming than this. I mean, I've seen them the last time we were on Ravnica be able to, you know, really do some damage. So outside of standard, I don't think this is that great of a card. It's very specific to the meta and specific to the set. So who knows if this will even be a thing outside of draft and sealed. By the way, interesting little note in the flavor text here. The Angels have abandoned us, but Grin Danu has not. And I Googled that. That's a new thing that they made up for this set, I guess. Otherwise, someone on the internet would have mentioned it somewhere, I would think. So I don't know what that is, but if it's like powerful enough to be like, wow, we're going to give you immunity to werewolves. Like, I don't know if it's a demon or a long lost god or something they made up, or it's Emrakul and she's got a new cult. I mean, it could be anything. I have no idea. But whatever it is, I mean, this card kind of implies it is extremely powerful. So we might see some kind of new faction here, some kind of new thing. I guess this is some kind of long lost god of the harvest or something. Hey, maybe let's do Shots Girl from, what was that, Theros? Maybe she's ascended to godhood and she's helping the humans. So next up, we got another mythic. It's Sigardian Savior. Ooh. Looks like she just dropped in and just wrecked everything, and I love it. So 5 cost creature angel, non-legendary. So kind of implies there could be more than one, and it's a 3/3 flying. So okay, but when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, return up to 2 target creature cards with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Oh, so the humans that already lost resurrect them so they can die again. Okay. That doesn't strike me as that great, especially when it's limited to the standard card pool, but I mean, Luminarch Aspirant. I certainly wouldn't want anyone to have that back. But I just don't see the Human Angel Alliance deck going anywhere when you could just play the current Angels deck, which is the #1 best deck in the world right now, in Standard and in the 2022 queue. So I don't know how much mileage we'll get out of this. It's kind of ironic. You look at that artwork, and she doesn't even hit that hard. 3/3 for 5, come on. But then again, I mean, all the Angel and life gain-based, you know, counter dump and... oh, get to 27 and boost everything +2/+2. Yeah, she's probably not going to be a 3/3. That's why something needs to be done about that damn deck. It's out of control. But this is far from the worst thing in it, so kind of weak for a mythic. Next up, oh, goody, Field of Ruin. Great. Whatever. So it's a land. You guys know what this crap is. It taps for colorless, and you pay 2, sack it, destroy target non-basic land, and then each player searches their library for a basic land card on the battlefield. This was the only way to stop that stupid infinite zombie deck or whatever, where just you could board wipe every turn, and then once you run out of cards, you still lose. Like that was such a mistake. So Field of Ruin was an important card, but will it be important now? Well, if they don't get rid of the Exalted crap, yeah, probably. Do I want to blow up Faceless Haven and Crawling Barrens or whatever it is on my own turn? Oh, do I want this mosquito that keeps flying around my head dead? Yes, I do. I'm gonna use Field of Ruin to do it. How do they keep getting in my house? Can mosquitoes teleport now? So anyway, land destruction is annoying, but if you're just gonna let me go get another land, I always thought this was garbage until people started using it to counteract a card that should have been banned, and then wasn't it like it was banned, then unbanned, then banned again, but like not in standard or something? I don't even remember. All I remember, it was a disaster. Okay, I've got some advice for you, Wizards. Leave this bullshit out of the game, and then also leave really egregious, obnoxious lands that turn into creatures out of the game or generate infinite tokens. And then everybody can just use their lands as lands. How about that? So next up, we've got Thraben or Thraben Exorcism. I've heard it both ways. And I guess instead of Kaya, they put Wanda Sykes on the card. That's kind of weird. Okay, if you ignore the nose and then kind of squint, I mean, kind of. Anyway, it's a 2-cost instant, and, you know, the way Kaya does exorcisms is a little bit different than the traditional way. She just gets out a knife and stabs the ghost, which, I mean, I can appreciate the direct approach. So this card says exile target spirit, creature with disturb, or enchantment. Well, an instant speed 2-cost enchantment, Get Rid of, that doesn't send to the graveyard, because now in the set the graveyard is utterly, completely meaningless. Although I've only seen creatures, instants, and sorceries be able to come out of it, so okay, whatever. But yeah, anytime you can exile instead of graveyarding it, cool. And that is kind of fitting for Kaya, because she like really, really permanently kills stuff. So yeah, I like this. I think we actually really, really needed this in the game. And of course, this is a story spotlight card, says so right on the bottom left there, so I gotta read the flavor text, I'm obligated to. Chandra, Teferi, and Arlen sought clues to the Moon Silver Key's whereabouts while Kaya dispatched the spirits obstructing their path. I thought the spirits were on the human side. It was whole like, oh, look at this kind beggar, and look at the caretaker of the graveyard, and after death he came back to help the fight against the werewolves. It's almost like Kaya showed up there like, I don't know, give Kaya something to stab, make the spirits evil, I guess. I don't know, most ghosts are evil, it's just that's not what I've seen so far in this set, but okay. I'm sure if I actually read the story, it would actually make sense, but, you know, whatever. But I will spoil this for you. The Moon Silver Key is hidden inside of a wheel of moon cheese. Obviously, Emrakul put it there. Duh. Let's see if the discount Gatewatch... Oh, wait, I think... Oh, everybody but Arlen actually is in the Gatewatch. Oh, we might see Oath of Arlen. Anyway, they don't have, like, 5 brain cells between them, but we'll see if they can find the key. And remember, these are the bumbling morons who created, like, their... you know, superhero guild, and then went to Amonkhet to fight Bolus with absolutely no plan, and then fought Bolus, and then lost because they had absolutely no plan. Oh, then Gideon left to do a side quest for a cat god. I don't entirely blame him, but he is an idiot. Next up, we got Organ Hoarder. It's a 4-cost blue 3/2 zombie, and when it enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put one of them in your hand and the rest in your graveyard, so more self-mill. I mean, the fuel is there. And 1 graveyard nuke is enough to stop your entire deck, so I don't know how much this El Zombly archetype will come out to play this time around, because like I said, I built the El Zombly deck last time, where you would like self-mill an Eldrazi into the graveyard, and then resurrect it later, and then win the game with it. So you would kind of, well, the typical term is cheat it out onto the battlefield, and then it's such a broken, obnoxious, you know, creature that, you know, that's why the... you know, casting cost was 8, 9, or 10, or 11, but it was so broken that, like, nobody could stop it. And then, obviously, it was blue-black, so I had some counter spells to protect it anyway, and I think Turn Aside was legal back then, so, yeah, kind of gimmicky deck, but we didn't have much graveyard clearing, and nobody felt the pressure to run it, but this time around, it's going to be different, so it's going to be like, oh, you know, oh, I'm running this, and it's going to be like in Modern, oh, well, I played Blood Moon, and now you have no mana, and I win. It's like, oh, well, now you have no graveyard and you can't do anything. You just did all this self-mill. You've got this, you know, 3/2 for 4 garbage in play. You got a bunch of decayed crap that can't block, and now you can't resurrect anything. Well, good game. So, I mean, seriously, they need to stop messing with lands and doing anything with them other than tapping for mana, and they need to stop messing with graveyards. It's just bad. It just reminds me of Dredge. Let the graveyard be the graveyard, let the exile zone be the exile zone, and let my lands be lands. Anytime they start scribbling outside the lines on the coloring book, we get this bullshit. I just don't think this is a well-designed set, and the vibes I'm getting is, they kind of went like, oh, we have to do this card this way and this mechanic this way because of the lore and because of Innistrad, and then the whole set suffers because of it from a design and mechanical standpoint. But we'll see. You never know. That's just my initial impression. Next up, we got Blade Brand. That kind of sounds familiar. That might be a reprint. I think it is. So it's 2-cost instant, black. Target creature gains death touch until end of turn, and then draw a card. So this is a step up even from the old Moonglove card, although for double the mana. So this is pretty good. Let me just say that artwork, I mean, you know, maybe if you're going to poison the blade, don't hold it that way. You dumbass. Next up, we've got Eaten Alive. It's a 1-cost black sorcery common. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature or pay a ridiculous additional 4. Jeez, a 5-cost sorcery kill spell. Exile target creature or planeswalker. So this is just a generally all-around shittier version of a card we already have. You know, Blood Chief's Thirst. Pay 1 or pay 3 as an additional kicker, you know, to take out mana 2 or less, or anything, any planeswalker or any creature. Now, it's not exile, but at least you can, you know, cast it without sacking a creature. This is even shittier than Bone Splinters. I mean, what were they thinking? This has got to be just like draft filler. Or maybe the whole point is whatever you sack, you'll bring it back and then get an ETB off it, or you didn't need the zombie token in the first place, probably, because it had decayed. I don't know. I mean, if you already swung with it, I think it says destroy it at end of turn, so then if you sacked it with this, it was going to die anyway, so it might not be too bad, but outside the set, it's not very good, so yeah, I think this is a draft card. Next up, we have Jack-O-Lantern, because of course we do. It's a 1-cost artifact, pay 1, tap it, sacrifice Jack-O-Lantern, and exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard, draw a card, and then if you pay 1, exile Jack-O-Lantern from your graveyard. Oh, I thought for sure it was going to nuke a whole graveyard, okay. Add 1 mana of any color. So it's already in your graveyard and you can get a mana out of it once. That's actually kind of interesting. So you've got to sack it to nuke one particular card out of, let's be honest, an opponent's graveyard, but then you get a card out of it to replace it, because otherwise this is not a very good card. And then you, like, after that can pay 1 to get a mana, but it's a filter, it's not actually a +1. This is a very unusual card. Next up, we've got Teferi, who can kiss my ass. Nobody wants you and your stupid, inconsistent face shape and facial features in the game, okay? You shape-shifting, time-traveling demon. You know I'm referencing the clip. Hell, I'm gonna play the clip.
It's the same!
You're a time-traveling demon!
Get out of his childhood! I gotta piss my pants!
Oh my gosh, if you guys haven't seen that video, you're dead to me. So anyway, plane wrecking, culture wrecking, time wrecking, Tolarian Academy wrecking douchebag Teferi shows up and slows the sunset. Oh good. Oh good, they're having trouble with the day-night cycle and the nights going on and preventing the sunset, and then the werewolves come out. Oh, let's hire Teferi because he does time stuff. He'll help us. Now, help, of course, is not help in the traditional sense when you come to Teferi. It's actually an acronym. It stands for, hey everyone, let's phase. What's the worst that could happen? And then, whoops, I made a continent disappear for 100 years. Yeah, he did that. Now, if you think I'm being harsh on this piece of human garbage, when Teferi gave up his spark to undo his stupid mistake that he made and fix, I don't know, all of time and phase back in the entire, like, country or whatever, when, I don't know, what was it, Karn tried to give him like another spark or his spark back or whatever the hell it was, Teferi's #1 critic, Teferi, said, no, I was awful as a planeswalker. Don't give me my spark back, I can't be trusted with it, if I were to paraphrase. And you know what, he was right, but unfortunately now he can planeswalk to Innistrad and go f*** everything up there. Oh good. I hope he accidentally sends the moon back in time, turns Emrakul into baby Emrakul, sort of like DBZ, with Boo turning into Kid Boo, and reverses the moon timeline into a molten ball that crashes into the earth like Majora's Mask, killing everyone. That would be like the least damage he'll probably do when he comes in and says, don't worry, I'm gonna time our way out of this. Guys, if Teferi shows up to your plane saying, I can help, the answer is no thanks, we'd rather die. So what is this game-rooting piece of shit gonna do this time? Well, we've got a 4-cost 4 loyalty, which is right in the problem zone usually. He's blue-white because of course he is. So +1, choose up to 1 target artifact, whether you own it or not. Up to 1 target creature, whether you own it or not. And then up to 1 target land, whether you own it or not. Then untap the chosen permanents that you control. And then tap the chosen permanents that you don't control. You gain 2 life. Yeah, that's a little OP for a defensive +1, not even a -1. I mean, even the 2 life is defensive, but then we've got, oh, well, you know, I'm just going to get through. I guess it's not that defensive, because if you tap one of the creatures, you'll just go to their turn and then I'll untap it, but you get their best blocker out of the way, ramp your own mana, because right before you activate this, you just tap a land for mana, let it float, and then untap it with his ability. So he's also a ramp card, because I guess they didn't learn from the last time. And then also you get an artifact tap ability back. Or tap their best artifact, which could very well be a creature. So you could actually tap one of their artifact creatures and one of their creatures, making your whole army basically unblockable, because that's probably the majority of their defenders. Wonderful. I hope he gets his head ripped off by a werewolf, I really do. So what does this asshole have for -2? Let's see. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them in your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Oh, shocking. So we got an obnoxiously defensive offensive super ability on +1. Then we've got a -2 that just lets you go get more control spells, more exiling and more counter spells. Oh, joy. And then -7, you get an emblem with punch this person for running Teferi. Oh, sorry, I misread it. Untap all permanents you control during each opponent's untap step, and then you draw a card during each opponent's draw step. So in other words, you win the game. Yep, typical annoying Teferi. This is just a remix of what he was 2 appearances ago. Nobody asked for this, nobody wanted this. This is just shit. This right here encourages people to run him in a broken, degenerate, all-control draw-go deck. He is way too defensive, way too hard to hit. I mean, if you get away clean with like a swing in the air, then he'll just untap the creature, and then your stupid broken angel shit can block whatever they got coming, and then you also gain 2 life. So then, do you go after Teferi because he just +1'd himself, or do you go after their life total because now it's +2? Or do you flip the table over and punch your opponent in the face and say, if you ever play blue-white control again, I'm going to actually stab you? I know which one I would do. This card is trash. I want to pretend like it doesn't exist and move on. So let's go to Rite of Oblivion. Because white-black needed another universal removal card. So it's sorcery speed, and it says has an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a non-land permanent. Probably a clue, might be a zombie token, you never know. Probably something you don't need, but okay, that's kind of steep. And then exile target non-land permanent, so it doesn't go to the graveyard, and then flashback forward. And yes, with flashback, you still need to sack a non-land permanent as an additional cost. So this is just Bone Splinters on steroids, but +1 color and +1 mana, so, alright. Next up, Bereaved Survivor, a 3-cost 2/1 human peasant. In that dress, she's a peasant? Sure she is. Oh, what, because she's barefoot? That dress costs more than my whole wardrobe. So whenever another creature you control dies, transform Bereaved Survivor. So what does she do? She becomes the Dauntless Avenger, Marvel's newest superhero. 3/2, and whenever it attacks, return target creature card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, tapped and attacking. If she's not a cleric and she's just like, I'm gonna pick up a sword and whack somebody in the face with it with all of her peasant money to buy all that equipment, by the way, just pointing out, seems a little sus. Now she suddenly has the ability to resurrect something from the graveyard, which would make her fine then. She'd just go home and live her life and not become a human soldier. Not one damn ounce of this adds up, but okay. Let me fix the flavor text here on the back. It says, it was Sigarda who lifted me from despair and gave me the strength to fight on. That should be replaced with, oh shit, I just learned necromancy or something. I don't know. And then resurrected my friend. Okay, good luck with the fight, guys. I'm going to go live on a farm outside the town. Let me know how things go with the werewolves. I guess that didn't fit on the card, so they went with that instead. But, yeah, not a lot of logic here. Next up, Morbid Opportunist. It's a 3-cost, 1/3 human rogue, and whenever one or more creatures dies, other creatures, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. So this is like that midnight whatever that was incredibly obnoxious at least about a year ago, except you don't lose life when you draw the card, but also it's not per death. So, I mean, yeah, it's an uncommon, but still, this is like a crazy good card. I think they made the same mistake they always do with this death trigger crap, though. It should have said non-token creatures. You know why? The Pest deck, which does not need, in addition to all the yo-yo triggers and the ping amplification crap and the 1 damage is 2 damage and recursion shit, now they get a card on top of it. Are you actually fucking kidding me? That's like the second best deck in the 2022 format. I mean, you've got to be kidding me that they just gave them free card draw. All right, well, I got to cut this somewhere. It was supposed to be at Denick, because that was the difference between September 8th and 9th on the schedule. But the 9th is really short, so actually I'm going to cut it off here and continue it tomorrow morning. So watch for it. I know I keep saying, oh, don't worry, it'll be still tonight. Oh, don't worry, it'll be early tomorrow. And then I've been wrong each time, but I've had a lot of work to do, a lot of running around, a lot of drama with my new business and stuff. So, it'll come out when it comes out, but I'm trying to catch up here because, you don't want to see spoilers 2 days later. But hey, thanks for tolerating it so far, because, I need the money for my second job, but I don't want to stop doing this. So thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
You time traveling back to the future in your ass. Get out, you demon. I will call the police. I'm not signing any release.